Hello and welcome to Conversations Unlocked, the UniCredit podcast and your gateway to industry insights. I'm Matt Thomas.
And I'm Nikolina Zečić. In this brand new series of Conversations Unlocked, we'll be learning how we unlock a better bank for tomorrow, with insights from experts and conversations with colleagues about the most exciting things happening at our banks across Europe. In this episode, we are learning all about culture. For our colleagues who missed our third annual Culture Day, you won't want to miss this because we have an exclusive recording of Joanna Kars, Head of Group Stakeholder Engagement, talking to America's Cup CEO Grant Dalton. Grant shares with us the lessons he has taken from racing about how we create a culture that unites our teammates and inspires us to win.
And that's not all. Later on, we'll join Sandra Novosel, culture expert at Zaba, in the Conversations Unlocked Culture Corner, an all-new feature in this series where colleagues ask questions about our group culture and we learn what each of us can do to unlock a better bank for tomorrow.
But before we dive in, here are some internal news headlines from UniCredit. In case you missed the big news, UniCredit recently published its second quarter and first half results of 2024. This is a landmark set of results for our bank. We have had a record quarter and first half, culminating in 14 quarters of quality growth and set new records with a number of these results. For example, our net profit increased 16% to 2.7 billion euros in the quarter and increased 20% to 5.2 billion euros in the half. These results are a testament to the strength of our strategic plan, which is helping us grow sustainably, deliver for our shareholders, and meet the needs of our clients and communities.
Thanks, Nikolina. Now let's listen to our exclusive recording of Joanna Kars speaking to Grant Dalton at our recent Culture Day.
Here we join Jo as she asks Grant what the secret is to uniting a team behind a goal, as important in racing as it is for a pan-European banking group like UniCredit.
For you, what is the secret behind uniting a team behind a goal and winning races such as this?
I was listening to Andrea before, just punching that word culture, and I don't speak it to that many environments with a company like this, but I wasn't expecting it to be punched that hard because I don't actually hear it that often in the corporate world, because in our world it is absolutely everything. One of the things that we also must have is we must also have a shared vision in what we do, and we need to agree within our culture what we all stand for. And when we sat down at the end of or middle of 2021, after we won the Cup in Bermuda, obviously what we stood for was to win it again in New Zealand, which we did. And no one's ever won it 3 times in a row. No team has ever won it 3 times in a row. So that's an obvious thing culturally to want to do as well. But, you got a lot of the same guys, they're getting older, they've got families, etc. So you got to stand for other things as well that help create milestones along the way. So we decided as our executive group that we needed to stand more for diversity and we needed to stand more for sustainability. And all these things are anchored in a culture of the team. And it makes it very easy, frankly. Once the culture's working, my job's pretty easy.
So if those are the elements that you are focusing on as you seek to build your culture, what values do you instill in your team to make sure that it encourages each one of them to step up every day to be their best? Because to compete at the level that won last time probably won't be enough.
No, nowhere near. We've got to be at least 10% better. So the first thing that sports teams, I think, are quite bad at recognizing that people have other lives. So I think that we have been quite good at recognizing the fact that their sole purpose in life isn't just to come to work. Their sole purpose when they get to work is to win. or to be part of it as culture that is to win. But we try to recognize milestones along the way. we try to recognize an environment where, because we're basically, as you said before, a technology team, a lot of technology can be done offline in terms of not being in the office. So there's a lot of elements that we've brought into what is a macho culture of a sports team that allow us to live life of people. And that has allowed us to be continuously successful for 30 years, which is unusual in the sport. No team stays together for 30 years. They fragment.
We're talking very much about the training and the focus on the boat and on the team, but you wear two hats because you have the team, which has to be trained and focused on the expectations of them to win, but you also have the production of the entire event. So you must have to delegate, and in delegating, you have to trust those people. And if they then make mistakes, how do you manage that? How do you allow them to do that, to learn? And then how do you manage the understanding that the mistakes are part of that journey?
I've never actually heard the word mistakes. I never actually think of it as mistakes. They just are part of a process that you then repair and fix. I don't actually ever see them as mistakes. From my point of view, the culture that we run is that people are empowered and must be. We have a no blame culture, and there is an environment both in the team and in the organisation, which is much newer, the organisation. So you always have some growing pains. That if something goes wrong, if the people are right, no matter which department they're in, they rally.
I wonder how that ethos works in practice with the sailors on the boat, because you've got the best plan. You've made, all of your developments, your engineers have fixed what they needed to fix in time. You know what you're doing. Out you go. You've read your weather.
This is a great question.
Non-technical.
Can I answer the question before you even ask it?
Yeah.
So sailors have unbelievable brain explosions. And so what happens when that happens is that the main yachtsmen actually come in after each race and they debrief the whole organisation. So they don't just go into their own debrief. 150 people get together, the yachtsmen sit there and they get asked questions. So everybody becomes engaged in the same process. And guess what happens is the yachtsmen don't have as many brain explosions because they know that they've got to come and explain to the other guys why they had them. And you just kind of get better. And it's the other thing is it actually needs to be fun. I know that sounds like a bit of a, yeah, right, of course it needs to be fun, but it actually does. And so we're all pretty close mates. It sounds pretty hard to have 150 mates, but I'm not sure Andrea knows 77,000 people's names, but I'll bet you he knows a few thousand people's names. And I think that's really important to a culture that there's this engagement. And you think, oh, they don't care, they don't need to talk to me, but they do.
I just wonder, on a final question, how do you get your team every day to come to work and say that you can do things that everybody else says isn't achievable?
Culture. It comes back to that word. We employ really carefully. We have quite a process of growing talent. So we go in, for our engineers, we tend to go into the universities, find their best. We don't necessarily promote, you obtain. So we have such a sort of an open door or push the door policy that if you are good and if you want to get into a position, you'll slowly just walk into that position. You don't have to necessarily be appointed. I've never had a business card and I've never had an employment contract in my life. And a lot of the guys around me haven't either. Now, in some cases, I don't even know what their title is, but it just kind of works because people instinctively want to be trusted. People instinctively want to achieve. People instinctively want to get better. And I'm not sure you can teach that. I think if you have the right people, they will do that instinctively. One of the part of our cultures is a no culture. If we had one sort of saying in our organisation, it would be no is the hardest word. And it helps the culture because people therefore know that their projects that they're presenting to help the boat go faster better be thought through properly and have a dollar amount assigned to them and quantify how much speed. And it holds an organization tighter. It doesn't get sloppy when everybody says, I'll do this, do that. No one's going to tell me I can't. We say no a lot.
And do you say no quite fast in terms of, so money's not wasted, time's not wasted?
Depends on the project. If it's a total science project, which could be breakthrough, we don't say no. We won't say no for a long time. If it is a whimsical project that someone just didn't want to say no to because they don't want to be that guy, then we'll say it quickly.
Grant, thank you very much. And obviously all the best for this year's race for Team New Zealand and for the production.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
What a fascinating conversation. It goes to show that even if banking and sailing are two different worlds, the strategy for success is actually the same. It all starts with creating a culture that motivates people, brings them together, and inspires them to take responsibility for their team's success.
That's exactly right, Nicolina. And now, for more insights on culture within UniCredit, let's join culture expert Sandra Novosel in our Culture Corner, where she'll be answering a question from one of our UniCredit colleagues.
Thank you, Matt and Nicolina. Hello, I'm Sandra Novosel-Karoli, culture expert at Zagrebačka banka, and welcome to the Conversations Unlocked Culture Corner. Here in the Culture Corner, we answer your question about UniCredit's people, culture, and how our colleagues contribute to building the bank for Europe's future. In this episode, our question comes from Mara Helicum, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Manager at Hypovereinsbank. Let's hear Mara's question.
Hello, my name is Mara Helicum. I am Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Manager at Hypovereinsbank in Germany, and I would like to ask a question. Since the launch of our group culture, our values of integrity, ownership and caring have become an integral part of UniCredit life. Based on your experience, how can my colleagues and I further embody these values in what we do for UniCredit?
Thank you, Mara. Excellent question. Well, when we think about integrity is a difficult thing to see. More often, it's easier to see if someone lacks integrity. In my personal experience at UniCredit, I have seen colleagues acting with integrity when they have had to take on greater responsibility and make difficult decisions to do the right thing for our clients. For example, not selling mobile banking to a client unless they're absolutely sure that client understands the app and is comfortable using it. And when we move to caring, like integrity, caring means doing more to help someone because you want them to succeed. You can show caring to colleagues as well as the clients. For example, proactively offering to be a buddy and a mentor to another colleague who needs assistance. For example, if they have returned from a long sick leave period, helping to make the transition period back into work as easy as possible. And ownership, for example, is seen most when colleagues help each other to achieve business goals. A brilliant example I have seen is when a colleague had a fantastic idea for a well-being initiative and brought it to life themselves, taking ownership for the end-to-end process. There are also small ways that colleagues can demonstrate ownership in their daily life at UniCredit, like raising their hands to take tasks from another colleague, enabling them to go to work immediately on another project and devote their full attention to it. And to close, our group culture encourages us to support and empower each other and to be a better banking partner to our clients. If you see opportunities to do this and take them, then you are embodying our values of integrity, ownership, and caring. So, thank you for joining me in the Culture Corner for this episode. And back to you, Matt and Nicolina.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you, Mara. And finally, before we go, here is one more piece of UniCredit news to get excited about. In a major step forward in our bank's digital and data journey, UniCredit recently invested in Aeon and Vodeno. As you know, our bank embraces innovation in service of our customers. We will now own a next-generation cloud-based and scalable digital platform, allowing us to enhance our proposition for consumers and SMEs. But that's not all. You can look forward to more of Conversations Unlocked Series 3 coming after the summer, with episodes diving into the most exciting new things happening in our bank and the big internal and external events in the UniCredit Group calendar. Listen out for episodes about America's Cup, ESG Day, and much, much more. Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Please join us next time for more must-hear insights and conversations about life at UniCredit on another Conversations Unlocked.